God's got this. You stay faithful. If you fall asleep right now, the entire message of this book, well, it's really God's got this. This is going to be tough, but you stay faithful. Revelation's like Mount Everest. We love to say, there it is. Isn't it something? But we don't want to climb it. Can I get a, oh yeah? But when you tackle Revelation, you recognize that either people go, ugh, or people go, oh yeah, oh my goodness. And they obsess about it. I mean, I got friends that anytime a new politician comes around, you think that's the mark of the beast? Do you think he's, that's who he is? Well, today we're going to kind of take the temp down a little bit because I do not believe God inspired John to write this book to disturb, confuse, or leave us scared to death. In fact, just the opposite. I believe that Revelation is a wonderful book of hope. In fact, I'm going to give you a few sentences you can write down or just memorize here. Revelation was written to a real set of churches. There are two keys to understanding the book of Revelation. The key of setting. Everybody over here say setting. Everybody over here say style. Oh, come on, you got more style than that. Style. Oh, there you go. All right. Now, you say, what do you mean, Pastor, setting and style? Go ahead and open up your Bible to the book of Revelation. It's the last one. It's easy to find. The first thing we ask is, what is the setting? Everybody say setting over there. What is the setting of the book? Well, the setting of the book is the Isle of Patmos, technically. An isle right off the coast of Turkey. And sitting on a rock, I'm going to give John some little hair here. He's been here a while. Is the Apostle John, someone who was cared for and loved by Jesus so much that Jesus sometimes calls him, the disciple that Jesus loved. Not that he doesn't love all of us. John had a bumper sticker, says, God loves you, but I'm his favorite. So here's John sitting here on this rock. Okay, I need some help. I've got some wonderful artists. They were with me last fall. Would you welcome Simeon Dumas and Jimmy Wynn? Where are you guys? Simeon is from Austin. Jimmy's a Crossroads member right here. Jimmy, can you help John? Because he's looking rough here. And these guys are going to create a picture of what it would have been like. Put some Roman soldiers over there for us. Because there are two forces at work here in this setting. We're about 90 years after the death of Jesus. John has been exiled. Somebody says, why was he exiled? Another good setting question. The reason he was exiled was because of this guy right here, whose name is nothing less than Titus Flavius Domitius. And Domitian, or just Domitian as they often called, is a Roman emperor who had the right and the ability, because Rome was in charge, to say, that's it. You're going to this island, John. And so here's John on this island because this Roman emperor, here, make this guy look like a Roman emperor. This Roman emperor did so. Now, why did he put him there? Christianity, and its first few hundred years, its first decades, was hated by the Roman emperor. Why? Because they thought they were weird and scary. Why weird? Weird because we only believe in one God. Now think about this. Romans have multiple gods. You only have one? Why, you're almost an atheist, man. What's wrong with you? And then scary because Christians prayed, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Whoa, whoa, whoa. This guy here does not want to hear anything about you bringing a new kingdom. That's the last thing we need. So they blamed things. They scapegoated things onto Christians. There's a fire in Rome. Must have been the Christians. And Christians become hated and persecuted. And I mean persecuted where there's no police there to stop them. Persecuted by Christians being beaten, by Christians being driven out of some cities, even set on fire. So on the one hand, you've got Rome that is allowing or participating in this persecution. And on the other hand, I want you to think of the cities where these believers were. And what do you think the believers are doing when this is happening and there's nobody rushing to stop it? Well, they're probably doing exactly what you and I would do. And I'm not as good an artist as these guys, but I bet you guys in a minute will be able to guess what this fella is doing out here on his knees. Anybody want to guess what you think he's doing out here? He's praying. Man, that's what I'd be doing. God, what in the world's going on? And the men and the women of these cities would say, God, where are you? Where are you? Lord, please help us. And they would call out to God and pray and say, Why is this happening? What's going on? Is there anyone who is going to be able to come and to save us? Lord, my son is died. Can you tell me why? And John writes to these people. Now, I've already said that this is a book written to actual churches. It is a book that is given not as what you think it is. Now, you say, how do you know what I think it is? Many people think Revelation is a roadmap of the future. Mark this down. It is not a linear map. It's not a linear map, but rather one in which, in style of apocalyptic literature, is repeated. But hang on. We did setting, right? And now we get to do, style. What do you mean when I say style? There are 3 different literary styles that the book is written in. First, it's a letter. It's a letter to 7 churches. By the way, they were not selected at random. Let me show you a map. Here's the Isle of Patmos up here. And the Isle of Patmos is right on the coast of Turkey. We're going to get that map, maybe? Yeah, there we go. Awesome. Hey, can you give thanks for the tech team up there that is trying desperately to follow me as I'm jumping all over. Okay, so here's the Isle of Patmos. Do you see it down below the word Ephesus, kind of in the lower left-hand side center of the map? Okay, there's Patmos where John is. Now look right on the coast. If you gave a messenger a letter and said, take this all the way to Jerusalem, he would start there and he would head from Ephesus up to Smyrna and then Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, Laodicea. It's a road. That's where those 7 churches were. And why those 7 churches are the 7 churches of Asia that you see in the book. And John says, that Jesus has given me this. Let's start with reading Revelation 1:1. Here's John's definition. He opens it. The revelation from who? Oh, you better say that with more respect. The revelation from which God gave him to show his servants what soon must take place. Ooh, soon, okay? This is not just 1,000,000 years in the future, not just 2,000 years later for us. This is also soon. 1, a letter. 2, prophecy. Just a word. Whenever people hear prophecy, they assume it's telling the future. Do you know only 17%, small percentage, of the times the word prophecy is used in the Bible, it's about telling the future? Prophecy is often just speaking out for God. But here he's saying, okay, there are some things that are going to happen. But then the actual style of much of the book is called apocalyptic literature, or the apocalypse. Can you say apocalypse? That's how you'd say it if you were trying to do the Greek words apokaluto, which means to take off the cover, to reveal in English. Now, there's no other way to say this. Apocalyptic literature is downright weird. It is literature that uses fantastical, bizarre images to try and explain the nature of God. I put it this way. The images in the book are not literal, by and large, but still carry both intense warnings and great hope. You say, well, you tell me you don't read the Bible literally? I do read it. These are literally symbols, is what these literally are. And these symbols, John even said, oh, this is a symbol for, here's a lamb, it's a symbol for Jesus. Here's a warrior, it's a symbol for Jesus. And John even tells us this. So don't think, well, pastor's not taking the Bible literally. These are literally symbols. And they're going to recapitulate. That's a fancy new word. Say it. You can impress somebody with it. Recapitulate. That means to tell the story over again. One lady says, oh, like my grandpa. Yes, exactly. He'll just tell that story over again. What you'll find in the book of Revelation is instead of one long telling of one story, he tells a story, and then he comes back and tells it again, and then he comes back and tells it a different way. That'll become evident to us. What John's main message, I do believe, is he's wanting to give the people hope. And the core message of the book, spoiler alert, in the end, God wins. And so what John does is he says, I'd like to, everybody say apokaluto. I'd like to pull the cover off. Because right now, these guys are looking at this, and the Christians would say, this is a major battle between good and evil. And indeed, that's what much of the book of Revelation can feel like. But John says, you're missing it. What I want to show you is that really, this is really a battle between God and the devil. You got this now? John says, I know it looks like a battle between good and evil. I know it looks like that boss who's hard on you, or that difficult kid you've got, or mama being tough on you. You think, oh man, what's wrong with this? Good and evil. It's actually Satan always trying to trip you up. Tell a person next to you, that's true. That's true. Satan is always trying to trip all of us up. You say, well, but Pastor, what did he say to these poor people? Because I felt like that. Like, what's going on? What John said was, come up here. Let me take you up to the upper story. In fact, on the count of three, I want you guys to say apokaluto, and we are going to reveal. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, here we go. Now we have apokaluted. And now we're in the throne. Yeah, you can give them an applause for doing that. We are now in the throne room of God, because when John on the Sunday, oh, by the way, did I tell you that recently archaeologists have found buried, I don't know how they got him exactly, tweets from John. John, it appears, was tweeting from Patmos. And so every now and then, find that first tweet. Every now and then, we'll just show you a tweet of something that John said on the book of Patmos. So it's a Sunday morning, things are rocking and rolling, and all of a sudden, God gives John a vision, and he takes him up into heaven. The center of heaven, the center of the vision, the center of our lives is the throne room of God. There is no question about who is in charge. Everybody say, God's in charge. There is no question about that, but that's actually not the first place he starts with John. He says, here, and John sees 7 lampstands. John says those lampstands represent those 7 churches, Ephesus, Pergamum, and Pergamum. He says, but where's the star of the show? He shows up first, because he says, I saw a figure, a bright figure, a radiant figure, who was walking through the lampstands. And that figure that was walking through the lampstands and was among them was robed beautifully, and he had a golden sash on. And here he begins to walk through. Anybody want to guess who this figure is? I'll give you one guess. Starts with a J. Yeah, that's Jesus. Now, stop a minute. You may go, oh, this is weird. He's walking among the lampstands. He's going to share the 7 letters with the churches. Stop. Just look. Where is Jesus? Among his church. Jesus is not way off here in heaven. Jesus is not so far away. Jesus is here. How many here have been to Crossroads more than 5 years? How many here have perfect attendance? Anybody got perfect? Not, hey, you haven't missed one Sunday. Oh yeah, Jesus in the back. Yes, Jesus is here every single Sunday. Jesus never misses a Sunday. He is among his people. John starts out by saying, don't you think you're down here? Oh, or are you? He says, Jesus is with his people. And then he says, now Jesus has a message for each of these churches. And each message is different. To the church in Ephesus, he says, I know your deeds. In fact, several times he tells these churches, I know your deeds. Or to the church in Smyrna, he says, I know your afflictions. It's good to know that Jesus knows when our churches are afflicted. Can I get it? Oh, yeah? To the church in Thyatira, he says, oh, you got Jezebel around you. They had some kind of woman problem there. And he says, listen, you need to deal with it. And in Philadelphia, there was a door that was open for them in a church that name means brotherly love. Oh boy, the church at Sardis, Jesus says, I know your reputation, but unfortunately you're not living up to it. And the last one, the church in Laodicea, is the one we all remember. If you've read the first 3 chapters, that's where these letters are. Oh, Laodicea, I wish that you were hot but because you are lukewarm. Oh man, I remember my dad preaching sermons about don't be lukewarm. Do you know I was an adult before I realized what that language is really about? Do you know the city of Laodicea on the one side is Hermopolis, which has hot springs. And they would get hot water for Hermopolis. But on the other side was Colossae, where there are cold springs. And when those hot springs and cold springs travel down there, come together, sometimes they'd be mixed, the water ends up being lukewarm. But during the travel, scientists say, bacteria would get in the water as it traveled that distance through these culverts. And when you drank it, instead of Montezuma's revenge, it was Laodicea's revenge. And if you drank that, you're like, oh, spit it out. Oh man, I don't want that. All of a sudden now, I see that Jesus is using real items, real things, and helping these real churches to be called. And the main message is, God's got this. You stay faithful. Can we say that together? God's got this. You stay faithful. If you fall asleep right now, the entire message of this book, well, it's really God's got this. This is going to be tough, but you stay faithful.